Welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen, back for another week. 12 now? 12 practices in the books. Preseason game number 2 coming up. And coming off tough news last night on Landon Dickerson. We're looking for an update on that. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Monday morning, brother?
Good. A shit show down there last night with open practice and Chris Brown concert. So hope everybody got in. If they were going down there, hope they enjoyed it. But obviously marred by potential injury to Landon Dickerson. Still a lot of uncertainty. Adam Schefter out there saying he's getting an MRI on his knee this morning. Now, we knew he was going to get an MRI. The question is, what is it on? And I don't know, a lot of times you just say, oh, he's getting an MRI on his knee. And it can, if it's on the knee, that's a positive. That is a big positive because of the grainy footage out there. Most people, even doctors Dr. Chow, who mentioned it's very grainy. It's tough to say. You can't say with certainty, but was talking about an Achilles. Another doctor I just saw was talking about an ankle or Achilles. So from that perspective, it didn't look like the knee. It looked like the best case scenario, the ankle buckled, the worst case scenario, the Achilles, and that's a season-ending injury. If it's the knee, maybe it's a sprained MCL or something like that, which is, a week to week, 4 to 6 maybe. And no one Landon, probably 2 to 4. He'll try to get back out there as soon as possible. So still a lot of uncertainty, but some hope. There's not great footage. I'm sure everybody's seen it. We're not allowed to take video. The fans in the stands were, which makes no sense, but I digress.
Right.
But they can't prevent them. I get that. They're in the stands and it's an open practice. They can't, in practice they do, where they can have a more controlled environment at the NovaCare complex. But there, everybody can film the whole practice if they want. But, it's not like box high definition where guys like Dr. Chow can really, give you a solid, pretty comfortable guess of what the injury is. So still a lot of uncertainty, and I know people want certainty, but we'll hear later today with the MRI results. But if Schefter is right and it's a knee, that's a positive because that means he might be back this season.
Yep, we'll see about it. All the updates on Landon Dickerson today. You heard that from Adam Schefter. We'll see if there's more to the story or if it is an ankle or an Achilles, John. I watched the video and and I know the video is not great, as you pointed out, but I watched that right leg rebound off the turf, and that's where I was like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, and I'm never going to profess to be one, but that's what looked funny to me about the right leg, which maybe could have been, I don't know, maybe a hyperextension of some sort. I don't know what it is, but we will continue to follow along on all of that and give you guys the updates. The second we get an update, I'll go live on the channel and update everybody on the injury to Landon Dickerson. John, I think it goes without saying any missed time for Landon Dickerson would be a catastrophe. I mean, he's obviously an unbelievable football player, an unbelievable offensive lineman, really kind of the heart and soul off the field of that offensive line with the way he speaks, leads, and brings that type of energy. What would that type of loss mean for this football team? A team obviously with high aspirations coming into the year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a top 10 player on the best roster in football. 3-time consecutive Pro Bowl selection. In a lot of ways, besides Jalen Hurts, he's, I think, the most important part of the tush push, which is important to fans. He's the guy who sort of, is just his natural power as a player. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles are better equipped to lose an offensive lineman than most teams. We've talked about their depth on the offensive line. and they're one of the very few teams that have been able to produce even behind sort of patchwork offensive lines, at least in the Jeff Stoutland era. But losing Dickerson for a long period of time, it's going to create, I think, a little bit of a butterfly effect in that I think you got to start moving people around. My presumption is it would be Tyler Steen moving to left guard, Matt Pryor probably insert a right guard, but there's a lot of options they could use. Kenyon Green's got to get back on the field, but this might put him back in the mix. And even Trevor Keegan, who's been spending most of his time trying to cross-train at center, he might be back in the mix. Darren Kennard could just play right guard if you just wanted to use the second team. So there's a lot of options, and they have way more options than any other team. But you're talking, no matter what way you go, you're talking a significant downgrade from Landon Dickerson.
No doubt about it. We'll continue to be up, keep you guys posted on Landon Dickerson. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here. It's kind of a somber Monday morning, Johnny Mac, whenever you see Landon Dickerson go down. But nonetheless, John, on another note, how about that practice last night, man? I said to the great people last night in the chat, I'm like, I think other quarterbacks in other cities dream of celebration and cheers like that. And Jalen gets it at an August 10th practice in front of Philly. Some quarterbacks don't even get that for their games, Johnny Mac. Pretty impressive how many fans showed up and the energy that it seemed was coming through the videos from the practice last night.
Yeah, I would say, I wasn't here. These things started in 2013. I do remember the first one was the largest attendance. I don't know if they beat that officially. They had 60,000 tickets out. I do believe some people didn't show up because of the pretty significant traffic issues. But and remember, a lot of people are just donating to the autism charity as well. So whatever the turnstile count was, probably near 50,000, I would say. Just guessing. I don't know. I haven't seen an official number, but yeah, it's pretty impressive for a practice. And it's been that way. I mean, even on years they're coming off not the Super Bowl, there's 35, 40,000 people. So it's always been and nobody's going to argue with the passion of this fan base. So, I mean, they're coming off a Super Bowl. The quarterback, he got the MVP chance. Obviously, he's popular in the city, so I think that's no surprise.
Yeah, no surprise. But it is still a credit to the city. We got a passionate sports city, no doubt, and I appreciate it. It's the reason we have this show, John, 5 years running on an Eagles show year round. Not many teams you'd have success year round talking about the football team late into June and July and all those different things. So shout out to all the great fans of the team and of us here on JAKIB Sports. We appreciate it. Johnny Mac, what else stuck out last night from practice? I only got a chance to talk to you for around 20 minutes. You mentioned Quinyon Mitchell continues to dominate. Jahad Campbell had a good practice last night. What was the gist of last night's open practice? It was practice number 12 for this team.
Yeah, I thought it was the best showing of the pass rush the entire summer, which I think is a positive. I'm not worried about the interior. That's been good throughout, but the outside, the edge rushers, I think that was their best performance by pretty wide margin this summer, and that's obviously a positive. It's got to get better. Josh Uche showing up again. He's been at this point, I would say, significantly better than Azeez Ojulari. So he seems to be settling in as the number 3 guy from at least a meritocracy standpoint. We'll see if the contracts come into it, but at this stage, I got to believe Ojulari's on the bubble because you could argue the big O, the middle-sized O, Agbo, which is actually Obo, I guess, has played, really has been more noticeable. So I think that pass rush was number 1. The defense kind of dominated most of the practice. And then, Quinyon, you mentioned, is just, maybe he's been the best player this summer. If you think about some of the AJ's been out for a while. Devontae was out before. But I would say of the skill position slash defense, back seven people on defense, I'd say Quinyon Mitchell's been the best Eagle, and he continues. Jacorian Bennett's already getting some first team reps, although hasn't, been that impressive. So he joins that group. I'm a little bit surprised because they don't seem to want to give Eli Ricks many first team reps. So I guess they don't believe in him to get in that competition. So right now, I think it's going to start to morph into Keely Ringo versus Jacorian Bennett rather than Keely Ringo versus Adoree Jackson. But that's just my speculation.
How did Jacorian, you said first team, nothing special from him out there. Who did he go up against? What were kind of walk us through what you saw from him on the first team?
Well, late in the practice, he got really worked over by Taylor Morin, who's an undrafted rookie, little inside out routes with tremendous short area quickness that he has in the red zone. Probably got about, I think I mentioned last night, probably about 4 yards of separation, which is pretty significant down in a condensed area in the red zone, and made worse by, I think, Mac McWilliams gave him 5 yards of separation. So Taylor had a nice practice, especially late. And that's one of those guys that's sneaky tough to deal with because, again, working from the slot, everybody's looking for the next Wes Welk or Julian Edelman. I'm not saying he's that, but he's got that short area quickness that just people find really, really difficult to deal with. So, it's one rep. It's not that big of a deal, but, for a guy who's going to come in as the savior, I would say it's not a positive rep, to say the least.
Yeah, we'll see on Jacorian Bennett. Nobody sees in that job right now. That's the hope is that somebody comes into camp and there's a battle and somebody just runs away with it. Somebody seizes the moment. Nobody seems to be doing that just yet, but still plenty of time to go. What do we have? 20-something days away, 24 days away from the opener. So still some time to go, but that's probably, I'd say, the biggest, at least open spot on the team right now. Safety looks like it's going to be Sidney Brown, at least to start.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Drew McCuber probably lost too much time with his shoulder injury. And we know, again, week one is not the be-all, end-all. Sidney plays poorly. They can probably go back to, not probably, they can go back to Drew or somebody else. But right now, it's looking like Sidney's got the inside track. And he's not doing anything to lose it. And Drew is still, a rookie and having some issues, especially with big bodied guys like Dallas Goedert, which should be no surprise as well, undersized safety. So he's got to learn how to sort of overcome some of those deficiencies. And that'll come probably with time. Again, he was the 64th overall pick, not the 4th. So, maybe people were skipping steps on Drew McCuba, and then when he loses some time, that's only going to make it more difficult, especially when Vic Fangio is your coach. But to circle back, because I did want to mention, so Dr. Chow got that grainy video we've all seen. Thanks for the video. Limited grainy distance, one angle. Can't make the 95% call, but worried for the dreaded A injury, which is obviously Achilles. And the fact that Schefter reported it's an MRI on the knee, again, if correct, that's positive. That's positive. Now, it might be a torn ACL, but they can usually that's like 99% on the field. They know when you tear your ACL. So that's, more likely you're talking about sprained MCL, LCL, even PCL, which is more difficult, but best case scenario, bone bruise, something like that. And none of those have the potential to be season ending. So that's why I say the MRI on the knee, if correct, that's positive.
Yeah, that's very positive. We'll continue to update everybody on that. David Chow puts that out, obviously. So, I mean, if Chow says that, you know that nobody really knows just yet. But that's why that Schefter report is interesting. If it's on the knee, looked to me like it was lower, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, the video will make you look at ankle or Achilles. I mean, that's that. But again, it's great. That's what he said. It's grainy. It's not, again, box high definition. It's not great video, so it's difficult to gauge. What I can say, being there and looking at the aftermath, is the immediate reaction of Jordan Mailata was pretty upset. Now, again, players aren't doctors. I always go back to Britton Covey. Great dude. I hope he's doing well with the Rams. He thought he broke his hand. He didn't. They don't necessarily know in the moment. So, there's still some hope, I would say.
No doubt about it. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. We're going to talk to Jeff Kerr today and Chris Franklin. So two great guests coming up here on Birds 365. We'll get the rundown from those guys, what they saw last night. Was Chris at the practice last night or no?
No, actually not at neither of them. So I'm your only practice. It was really difficult to get down there.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
It was a skeleton crew. Only
what time? What kind of travel time did you have?
It took me what usually takes me 20 minutes, took me over an hour, which yeah, it was not part of the thing. On a game day, we can get there very early. We can beat the traffic. They open the parking lots late. Our parking lot very late, 4:30 for a 6:00 practice. So, you can't just sit there waiting for them to open the gate, and that kind of traffic. So you had to almost dive headfirst into the muck, and it was muck.
Yeah. A lot of muck last night. Good stuff, though, for getting down there. Johnny Mac, shout out to all the Eagles fans that were at the stadium last night enjoying a good open practice. Yeah, those numbers, though, John, you mentioned them last night. God, they are brutal. I was trying to figure out who was lined up on Landon. It looked like I think it was Dave Hall, though, because he was lined up on the center to start, and then he kind of shed the block from
he was getting some first. I mean, on the Jalen interception, which should have been a Jihad Campbell sack, also we had a tough time figuring out who sort of forced the ball to come out. It wasn't tipped. The ball came out weird. It just seemed to slip when the ball came out, slip out of his hand. And Nolan Smith returned it for a touchdown. It was a backed up period, so it's only like a 5-6 yard touchdown, whatever. But and it should have been waved dead from a sack by Jihad Campbell. So either way, it was a great play for the defense. But we're sitting there over and over looking at video, again, grainy video. Couldn't figure out. I believe it was Jalen Carter, but those numbers on the white jerseys are just brutal to see. I mean, impossible from the press box almost. And, the Eagles do it, and they obviously auction off the jerseys for, their autism charity. But, man, just put regular numbers on there. The fans will still bid.
Yeah, right. Good stuff. John, is this a possibility? All right. Let's just assume Landon misses sometime. I think he's going to miss sometime. I don't know. I don't want to speak.
Well, I certainly would, best case scenario, sit him down in the damn preseason.
Exactly.
Well, he's not playing in the games, but I mean practices.
And training camp. But Connor checks in. He says Juergens back to guard and Kendall to center. Would that be even an option, you think, if Landon did miss time?
Well, everything's an option. And the Eagles really like Cam Jurgens as a center. Really like him. That's his natural position. He's a Pro Bowl player already. I don't think they're using that lever, but ultimately it'll be by getting the best 5 players. But they have so many options. And again, unlike most teams, I just ran some of them down. And my first thought would be moving Steen and putting in Pryor, because Pryor, I think, is their best right guard anyway, probably, at least coming off last season. And Tyler's played left guard. He played left guard when Landon had to move to center in the NFC Championship game. But so you also have Kenyon Green. You also have Trevor Keegan, who can get involved. And that's another way that, Kendall's I think going to be a good player. He's going to make the team, but I don't necessarily think he's ready right away. To me, their next best offensive lineman is Matt Pryor. So how do you get Matt Pryor on the field? That's to me the easiest scenario if Landon is out for a significant period of time.
Yep. Shout to you, Connor. Thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate that. On the $5 super chat. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Let's go to Jeff Kerr.